All right, everybody, please join me in welcoming back to the stage directors. I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Tommaso Sacconi, thank you. And Alex Contell, I almost switched your names around, guys. Sorry about that. Here you go.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
It's been a long day. Thank you guys so much for bringing this film to Cleveland and sharing it with us. It's such a beautiful film. We are going to take questions today from the audience too, so feel free to just shout out. We'll be able to hear you. But I'm going to be selfish and start with my own. Can you guys give us your background? I think at least one of you is photographers, if not both of you, and how you started coming to this film.
Yeah, both Tommaso and I are photographers. We've been shooting film for a long time, and then the idea came out of many nights that him and I were talking about photography and why we were shooting analog, and we started to think, why are we choosing this expensive method of shooting something, and that is not only costly but also takes longer time and sometimes gives you even worse results that you will with a normal camera. But even though that's the case, we're still doing it. And why are we so adamant at it? So we wanted to answer those questions, and we thought that the best way of understanding it would be to talk to first-class photographers all over the country, and mainly congregated in New York. But we decided to talk to them and see what were their reasons in order to find the reasons that we were actually using to shoot it ourselves. Yeah.
And how did you pick who you were going to interview? There was a lot of really great photographers in the group. I'm assuming you guys are based in New York. It's a very much of a love story to New York, I think, too, this film is. Can you talk about how you got connected to so many people in the film?
Sure. So the movie has been shot in New York primarily just because it was out of our own, I mean, we didn't have any funds at the beginning. And living in there, we had the chance to get in contact with some people, because sooner or later, people come to New York City. So it was a shortcut for us. We would have loved to travel. We hope to travel to do other movies, but with the exception of Italy, because I'm Italian, and Spain, because he's Spanish, we couldn't simply afford to go all over the country and gather other voices. To have all these photographers in these movies, we had to, in the beginning, pretend that we had other photographers to convince at least the first one. And once we had the first one, then we could spend his name in order to have the second one, because we had absolutely nothing to show as other documentary. This is our first feature film. So we faked it in the beginning, and then we found that we are having something, and so we create a sort of trailer, which aiming to show more than we had it at the moment, and yeah. But thanks to them, in the end, they gave us a possibility, a shot, and we got her, yeah.
I think that's brilliant advice for first-time filmmakers. You gotta fake it till you make it, right? So I did photography in school growing up, and I loved it so much. And at least here in Ohio, it's very sad that not many schools still have photography programs. It's been stripped away along with funding for arts programs within schools. I love that you were able to talk to students. She was brilliant at the end. She's been doing photography for so long. Can you talk a little bit about the research behind this film in terms of photography and the education of photography, and how it's sort of dying, and how important it is to bring that to young people still?
Yes, it is. We think it's very, very important. We're saddened by the news that some schools are closing, some batches are being cut for that. But we were trying to focus on the opposite. Some others are opening. So some schools and some labs have closed, but many others are opening because they're seeing that there's a big value there. And even as a social program, for instance, the one with the kids in the Bronx is out of a social program out in the Bronx with a collaboration with the International Center of Photography. And then because they realize how, not only how important it is for photography, but also as a community building activity, which is something very physical, something that puts people in the same room, or used to put people in the same room. And there's so much value, not only as the part of the photography, which is immense. We believe to become a better photographer is good to know the foundation, but also as a community building tool and a tool that unites people and into the art of creating. Because photographers, sometimes we have this problem of wanting to do everything by ourselves, because it's something that you can do on your own. You have your little camera or your little phone, and you can be a photographer, and that's great. But there's so much about sharing what you're doing with someone that is next to you and talking to them and learning from each other, that part of community is great, and obviously that comes from schools as a main community-driven point.
Right, it becomes so much more of a collaborative effort, I think, when it's tactile like that. I'm going to pause and see if anybody has a question from the audience yet. Yep, go ahead. Ooh, what was the first camera that you both shot with?
So the first one was the camera of my mom that I inherit, and I still have. It's here in Cleveland. See? And it's yes, it's a Nikon F3, and yeah.
Great.
What about you?
Longer too.
Yes.
Yeah, forever, forever. And these are a kind of tank, unless I don't know what you have to do to destroy them.
Yeah, for me also was my dad's camera, one of my dad's cameras. It was a point and shoot Olympus Mewtwo, very small, pocketable. I still have it. I now shoot with another one, but I still have it, and it still works. Although the compact ones, they're pretty finicky, and once they're a little bit broken, they're gone. It's not like a tank like that Nikon F3, but yeah.
See if anyone else. Yep, up here.
Good question. Absolutely digital, everything. And we don't see any... No. Thanks for asking. Actually, we don't see any contradiction in this, because if it's true that we see this analog photography coming back so much, it's also true that the advantage of digital, especially in film, is undeniable. And for us, especially with no phones, being in the situation of filming interviews that were lasting for 2 hours from 2 points of view, so 2 cameras, it would have been impossible in analog. On top of it, I have to say that it was also a stylistic choice, because we could have, in a second moment, get an analog film, an analog film camera to do some footage, but it would have been also more about us than about the story that we are trying to tell. And so we decided not to do that, but to keep it as a documentary about photographers, and not about us trying to create a sort of art piece, which cannot be. It's not the aim of this documentary.
Well, and I love that ends up being a theme of the film too, that it's not an either or, right? And I think going into the future, artists and other photographers like Natalie, for example, talking about the benefits of both. And I think that's really important of a message to send to newer generations who have grown up with only digital, is that there are benefits to both, for sure. Yeah. Up here.
Thank you so much.
That's great. Anyone else? Yep.
It's more of a comment. I just love the bit because I've thought this myself about how we have all these pictures on our phone, but they just kind of sit on our phone. And we have them, but how often do we actually really go through them and sort of relive the moments and go, oh yeah, this is from here or there, or put them in some kind of order. Digitally, I'm like a serial clicker, 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 you know, I've got like 1,000 pictures. Like they said, maybe there'll be one or two that'll be decent, but I never print them out.
Right.
I really want to do that because that's sort of a tradition that I think keeps history alive for families and for, you know, looking at Thanksgiving and how that was and a couple years ago, how was it? You know, we don't do that anymore. And I think that's so, I just think that's so important. You know? So I was really, I love that point about it. And this, I just thought it was beautiful. The only thing I regret that I gave my Pentax K1000.
So that's a good one. That's a great one. I have that one too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I really regret it.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing that point up as well about the printing, because even if you lost your K1000, you can still do that part of the process of photography. You can still do it with the digital, with your phone, just taking that time, as you're saying, of printing it, just putting your mind into the actual process of cataloging your life maybe and paying attention a little bit more, be a little bit more mindful of the pictures, not the ones that you're taking. You can take as many as you want, but maybe, you know, doing a selection over the years and going back and doing that exercise of printing them or giving them to someone, of showing them to someone that comes over to your house. That part of the process is beautiful. It's not only for analog photography, also you can do it with digital, but analog has it embedded in it, and that's what makes it very, very cool, beautiful. Thank you.
Somebody else have their hand up over there? Nope. I have another thing that I would love to talk with you about, which actually one of my favorite pieces of the film, I think it was Daniel Arnold, that really was like an aha moment for me watching the film, is when he talks about, he says, you know, with the digital camera, you live in the screen, right? You're editing within the screen and you're thinking more about the photography, whereas with analog, you're really thinking about what's in front of you. And I thought that was such a beautiful way to describe the difference between the two and how they can be such different characters in themselves in the making of art. And I think that's true with filmmaking too in some ways sometimes. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We relate a lot with this sentence of Daniel Arnold, because it's true that when you use a digital camera, somehow the expectation, it's very high. There's no excuse if you miss the shot or if it's not perfect or what we believe perfection is. So Alex and I, for instance, as photographers, we use the digital medium very often for our job. There's no way that we can miss some photos, so we rely on that. On the other hand, we both use the analog medium for what really means for us. So it's not that we don't have our phone or we don't shoot digital at all. It's that we use the analog medium for what really matters to us. And for Daniel Arnold, being himself a street photographer, and since the street photos are his life, he uses it as in this way, so that when he takes the photo, he's not forced to think again and check if he has the photo, but he can go to the next situation that he's gonna photograph.
I love that.
Exactly, and just to piggyback a little bit on that, it was a perfect answer, but this also represents a lot the living in the moment, which is basically what Tommaso was getting at, and it's something that we're feeling that society at large, or at least younger generations who were brought up in a digital medium are craving for, to going back to connection with other people, going back to connection with reality, with what's happening in the moment, and not leaving it through the screen, and not leaving it filtered. So that living in the moment part, I think is also very important on that sentence that Daniel is saying. Live the moment, you're photographing the moment, but you are not thinking on what's gonna come next from that moment that you did, and not really thinking about posting it on Instagram right away.
I was also surprised. I'm glad that you really detailed out how short of a gap of time it was when film started to die, and then when it started to get popular again. It was really short. It was like 3 years before it started to pick up again. And I think that this, with photography and film, that it's a unique case with that, right? I mean, there's always nostalgia. There's records coming back and things like that, but that takes longer. And do you have any insight into why you think that was the case in this period of time as well? Why that came back so quickly?
So it came back, but it came back at a fraction of, as a small portion of what it was.
Right.
Unfortunately, or not, it's never going to go back to what it was in the past, because a lot of people are fine doing digital, and that's totally okay. But I think for some other part of the population, it didn't take that long to realize that they were missing onto something. They were craving for something else that the digital wasn't giving it. It wasn't making it for them. At the same time, now I'm gonna take a little moment here to say that also we noticed that this love for analog is particularly more amongst the younger generations again. Yeah. Some of the older folks, they don't want to see it again. It's like, listen, we've been through this. We spent many times many hours in the dark room. We were hating it. We were just doing it because that's what it was. That's what was available for us. But we're experiencing that love for it mainly for younger generations. People that have that little nostalgia as well. Yeah. So nostalgia plays a little role in it. No, it's not only that, but yeah, I think those people really didn't take them too long to realize that digital wasn't really cutting it for them.
And I think this is it's very fascinating, or at least it was for Alex and I, because when you have a generation that grew up using their phone and their digital cameras, to see how important can be to many of them to rediscover a medium, to make it their medium, and to take the time to learn how it works, and to learn from their mistakes and keep going with that, for us was incredible. Which is why it took 2 years to go to make the interview at the ICP, for instance, because you have to speak with the parents. You have to convince that you are going to you have intention that you're not going to do anything wrong. But their words of these kids was they were very interesting for us. So.
And I know I had asked about the print room before. How many of you knew about it before this film? That's great, and have been there. If you haven't been there yet, please go visit it. It's a phenomenal space. They also do artist residencies. They bring in photographers, I think annually, or at least every couple of years, to come and do a residency here in the city, and they have some really great pieces from that too. It's an awesome resource that we have in our city, for sure. I want to check and see if anybody had any last minute questions. Oh, another one?
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
so
okay.
excited about what you're talking about. I'm just so excited.
No, thank you.
Because I so get, like, it makes so much sense that a generation of folks that grew up in their screens, you know, with so much technology, it's kind of like the difference between playing a video game and actually going outside and playing baseball. Or it's, you know, having the experience. Again, one is, you know, both of them may be fun and all that, but it's a whole different thing when you actually are having the experience of creating something like that, as opposed to just looking. And it really struck me when they said, I forget which photographer it was, but when he talked about when you're out there doing street photography, you're in the moment, and you're in the scene. phone, you're kind of still in the screen. And I thought about myself, like when my son was graduating from college, and I was videotaping his graduation, and I was seeing it all through the screen, and I thought, wait a minute, I want to actually see him graduate. Like, I want to actually see him graduate. I don't want to be looking at the screen and going, now I have to follow him and make sure that the video is good. I actually want to see him graduate. And I literally shut the phone off and just watched him graduate. Because that was more important to me, to be there, you know, in that moment. So I just think there's so much to this, what you're doing. It's so much deeper than what it might appear to be. There's so many more, I mean, it's all about like the virtual reality world versus, you know, actually living your life. Like there's so many different parts to it, and I'm just really excited about it.
Well,
I want to go get a camera.
I know. I thought
absolutely.
that. Yeah. As soon as I
Thank
watched,
you so much
as soon
for
as
your enthusiasm.
yeah, as soon as I watched your film, I was like, I need to go back in a dark room. I mean, that's such a
There is,
beautiful
and
experience.
and
you
there
know?
are, even here in Cleveland, there's the
Yeah. The Cleveland Print Room. Yes,
room,
yeah,
yes,
so that's dark room space that you can also use. I mean, I think for anybody that's been in a dark room before, there's really no experience like that, and I felt that very much the same way about your film. I thought it was just such a beautiful homage to that and the art form in general. So thank you so much to both of you for
No,
being
thank
here,
you. Thank
for
you.
sharing this
It
film
was,
with us. Thanks for coming out
thanks.
tonight. Make sure to vote on your ballots and turn those in and give them a chance to win some cash prizes. There's another screening of this film tomorrow morning too, I think, so tell everyone that you know to come watch it.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.